Hello, it's your GenX Big Sister here signing on. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about my nomadic life and what it looks like when I'm going from location to location and what that's all about. I've just arrived at my next location. I left my hibernation retreat. I called it a hibernation retreat where I spent most of the month of January. And the way that I chose the location was I chose a location that wouldn't be too far away from where my parents live, but far enough away that I have some like alone solitude time for the few weeks that I was there. And I wasn't looking for a fancy town or a city with a lot of stuff to do. I was looking for a place where I would be comfortable hibernating because my goal was to get as much work done, as much work done as I could, and to really work on my business and to really work on my planning for the year. And I spent the last few weeks definitely doing that. I picked a beautiful, big old condo in this big old Victorian, clearly it was a Victorian house that got converted into apartments. There's 9 apartments in there. And the unit that I had was just interesting enough and comfortable to enjoy being there. I wanted a place that I would enjoy being there. And if you've been watching my videos, you've seen like some funky different types of backgrounds, and the last several from the last few weeks have been from that apartment. So that was my goal in going there, and I called it the hibernation retreat. And I was there for about 3 weeks, and I got so much done. Not only did I complete a lot of client deliverables for my corporate client, I also completed the producing and editing of another client's podcast. I also recorded 5 podcast episodes for Blueprint Breakers. One of them has recently been launched yesterday. So I have one that was produced and edited. I've got 4 more to work on and to launch in the coming weeks. I hosted multiple virtual events. I hosted an event that consisted of women who were interested in being guests on my podcast. I hosted multiple GenX virtual coffee chats, and the virtual coffee chats went really, really well. I had 2 different chats, one on a Sunday, one on a Tuesday. I had a good amount of women to show up. It came from Threads posts where we've been having a lot of talk from amongst us Gen X women about different things that are important to us. And one of the topics that came up was around friendship and making new friends and having some good connections, and whether or not we feel good about our connections and our friendships. And that sort of motivated me to launch the coffee chats. Those were very meaningful and wonderful. We had great conversations. And then I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do about that. Is it something that I'm going to include in my business or not? And I decided I do want to have some sort of a community aspect to my business. And I know I've talked about this on previous videos, but I also wanted to continue to offer something that was complimentary for women, and it would give me the opportunity to connect with more and more women. So I'm doing those coffee chats monthly once a month on a Sunday. I think the next one is on February 8th. So it's the second Sunday of the month, I think, is how it plays out. So I did all that. I continued launching my series, 15 Types of Women Who Deserve a Grown-Up Gap Year. That was the series that I recorded in Thailand. And over the last few weeks, I've been launching them and releasing them. And editing them and producing them. And so that's been coming out and promoting my Grown Up Gap Year playbook that way. I launched this YouTube channel series starting on the 1st of January, and I've been doing a daily video every single day since then, which has been wonderful. And lots of learnings from that. Like what else have I done? Oh, I organized and launched the vision board celebration with other midlife women who wanted to create a vision for themselves. And I'm going to be doing another one of those next week as well. I met up in real life some colleagues that I had only known online prior, and we got together for a wonderful afternoon of coffee and conversation in Troy, New York, where I was staying for my hibernation retreat. And I hosted a couple of personal virtual connections. I reached out to a group of women who I had weekly Zoom happy hours with them back during the pandemic times. And I haven't seen them all as a group in a really long time. So I put out an invitation sort of spontaneously, and we ended up having a really great get together and catch up. And I also did a photo shoot while I was there at the condo with some pretty cool backgrounds and shot some B-roll video. I did a goal planning session where I put flip charts all over the walls and planned out my whole year. So I was using the space. I mean, people wanted to know, why are you there and why do you want to be alone? And it was because it gave me the time and the space to move around and, not be too concerned about my volume, as long as it, didn't bother the neighbors. And, I could put flip charts on the wall, and I had them all over the living room to really plan out my year. And I just feel like I've gotten a whole heck of a lot accomplished in the last few weeks, and a little more clarity about what's next, although it's still not super crystal clear. I'm kind of enjoying a little bit of the fuzziness, getting a little bit clear, and then working on continuing to make it more and more clear. That whole journey and process has been a lot of fun for me. And so today I left that location, and people have asked me before how I feel about going from one place to another. This last place, we also had a snowstorm this past weekend, with a significant amount of snow that got dumped on us. I've shared some videos of me clearing out the snow with my tiny little car travel shovel, and it was a really cool place to be sort of snowed in. I literally haven't gotten to my car and left the area since Saturday before the snow. So Sunday, Monday, 3 days of being in my house, going outside to shovel, but primarily being at home and doing nothing but creating and connecting. Creating and connecting was what I did solid for those few days. And I do feel a little bit of sadness when I leave one location, because I do get very attached to place. And I'm not sure where it comes from. I don't know if I've always been this way. I do know that part of my acting training when I was being professionally trained as an actress, that's what I studied in college and everything, that emotional connection to place is a big part of something that we engage with when we're acting, and when we're particularly using method acting and following the method. And I remember using place a lot to evoke a feeling, to evoke an emotion, and to help try to bring a space to life when you're acting on a stage, when it's not like a real space. And I don't know if that just kick-started how I am in that way or not, but it feels kind of like that. I get just emotionally really, really attached, which is ironic because most of my adult life since college, there's been a couple places that I've stayed at really long term, but I've lived in so many places. I've moved around quite a bit and have lived in a lot of places. So I do get a little bit sad, and I do get a little bit stressed when I'm going from one place to another. And that's usually over the logistics part of it. Today's stress was around weather and road conditions, a little nervous about that. A little nervous because, I just had car trouble last week, and that kind of like reminded me that my car is not young anymore. And, so I was feeling a little less confident in that. So there's some stress when I'm going from one location to another, and some sadness, and a lot of work and a lot of logistics. So because I'm on my own, I have to do all the packing and the loading and the unloading myself. And I've gotten to the point right now where when I do an extended stay, I do bring a good amount of stuff, because I bring work stuff, office stuff to, shoot videos and so, like, I've got tripods and laptop stands, and I've got various clothing, because I know that I had a couple of trips right in a row that I was going to need to take without going back to my storage unit. So I have different forms of weather clothing with me. I have a full carload inside and in the trunk, full. And I've almost got it down to a science in terms of how I pack it and organize it and what I bring and how I go about packing it back up. And I start the packing the day before. So I actually started yesterday with packing up all my stuff and putting it as close to the front door as possible and organizing it in order of entry into the car. And then the night before, I load up the trunk first, but without anything that's too valuable. And now, being in the middle of the winter, not anything that would be adversely affected by freezing Arctic temperatures. So loaded up the car, the trunk of the car last night. And then this morning, it was an early checkout, so I had to get up early and had to load everything else into the rest of the car. The back seat gets full, the passenger seat gets full, and had to make multiple trips in and out, and I had to rest in between because I'm not as young as I used to be. But it's a lot of, I do feel like I get a workout every time I do this. What I don't factor into this particular move was a little tougher than normal, because I didn't factor in piles of snow, like having to climb through snow to get to my car. My car's been parked on the street because there wasn't a driveway there. So that was even extra. Like, I couldn't roll suitcases out. I had to lift them up and traipse over the snowbanks to get to the car with these heavy bags on me. And so that was a lot of work. The road trip itself was smooth and easy. I was 2 hours away from Mom and Dad's place. Got here a couple of hours ago and unloaded the inside of the car into the garage. That's as far as I got. And brought some of the stuff up to the guest room where I'm staying, but the rest is either in the garage or in the trunk of the car. And over the next day or so, I'm going to have to empty all of that out, because I leave here in a few days and drive Mom and Dad's car with them and all their stuff down to Myrtle Beach. So I'm leaving my stuff here. So it gets a little crazy, and it's a little, I guess it's no wonder that once I got here, once I caught up with Mom and Dad, I felt really tired. I wanted to take a nap. So I did. I took a nap. And I feel better now. But I was talking about the sadness of leaving one place and the space and the emotional connection. And the activity and the logistics and the physical work is helpful for that. But the other thing that's helpful is I always have something that I'm looking forward to in the next location I'm going to, or the next couple of locations I'm going to. So while I'm sad to leave something behind, I'm always looking forward to what's coming next. I was looking forward to seeing my parents. I was looking forward to seeing my brothers, and I'm looking forward to getting to South Carolina and having some warmth and some sunshine. So there's a lot of like positive things that I'm looking forward to. So I think that's part of what keeps this lifestyle attractive to me and interesting for me as well. And there was something else that I was going to say about that, and I forgot. I forgot what it was. But as you can tell, I don't have any notes that I'm reading. I don't even have like any cheat sheet or bullet points. I'm literally just talking off the cuff. So that is my nomadic experience of going from one location to, I know, it just came. I knew it would come back to me. The other thing about spending this 3-week hibernation retreat and being alone is it's paired up right up against, I'm going to be, for the next couple of months, I'm not going to be alone at all. Living arrangements. I'll either be with my parents or with my brother, or then again at my other brother's place. So there's not going to be a lot of alone time. And the introvert that I am, that's something that I really value. And I've learned that when I start to schedule these getaways and these connections and these visiting people, that having my introvert time and my extrovert time and like putting it all together that way is really, really helpful to me. If you have any questions about the nomad life or anything that I said, please leave it in the comments. And if you're a nomad, I would love to hear about that too, and hear about where you go and what your experiences are, or if you have a channel to share where you're talking about it, I would love to hear about that too. Please like and subscribe to this channel. This is your GenX Big Sister, signing off.